We are still trying to finish the footnotes. We read the whole book. We read the entire body of this book here. You can see 495 pages. Yeah, we we didn't read some stuff all the way in the back, but we'll come to that inshallah about transcription system and things. But we read the entire body of the book, but there were still some footnotes that we didn't finish. As you can see, book has a lot of footnotes. Then we got to this chapter, the attribute of doing. And we attempted to start checking the footnotes here, but we found that the topic was too lofty to be able to start at that footnote. We had to back up just so we can understand the topic. So, what I think we need to do to understand this topic well is just go ahead and start from the top of the to read the body here again and catch maybe not every single footnote here. Some of the footnotes here are already done. But let's go ahead and read it from the top so we can understand everything here. And inshallah, we'll check the footnotes too. And so the author says, the attribute of doing. Sifatul fi'l. Sifat al-fi'l. Now, very first thing, and this is amongst the first things that we should have mentioned last week, is that you need to know, to understand this case, that Allah Ta'ala has sifatul that and sifatul fi'l, attributes of the self and attributes of doing or action. The attribute of the self, you cannot confirm it, and its contrary meaning, those are the 13 attributes. You cannot confirm his existence and then also confirm non-existence. You cannot confirm his oneness and then also confirm a partner for God. You cannot confirm dissimilarity and then turn around and confirm a comparison for God. So whenever you cannot confirm the attribute and its contrary meaning too, then that's called sifatu that, attribute of the self. So we say Allah has power. We cannot say He has weakness. Allah is attributed with knowledge. We cannot confirm for Him ignorance. Allah is attributed with sight. We cannot confirm for Him blindness. Therefore, all of these are attributes of the self. Now we are not talking about the attributes of the self. We are talking about the attributes of doings. What is the attribute of doing? The attribute of doing is the one that you can confirm it and its contrary meaning, such as to say Allah is Al-Muhyi al-Mumit, life creator and death creator. So since you can say both of those, then this is a doing. And you can say Allah is Al-Khafid al-Rafi'. This means the one who makes someone despicable and the one who makes someone great. Al-Qabid al-Basit means the one who makes the sustenance tight and the one who expands the sustenance, like this. Then these are doings of Allah. So, this is where we are today, the doings of Allah Ta'ala. We have a footnote here. The Shaykh said in his great book, Ad-Dalilul Qawim, there is an amount of the knowledge of the creed by which the basis of the creed takes place. Yani, there's an amount of the knowledge of belief, the creed, If you have this amount, then you'll have the fundamental basic creed. That's what we need to teach to a new person. Like, this topic here is not for a new person per se. You definitely can't start a person out here like if he's just learning. I'm going to teach him very basics. Uh, so there is an amount of the knowledge by which the basis of the creed takes place, as well as an addition, something extra. Knowing all the necessary matters of the creed. That includes knowing the 13 attributes of Allah, which are existence, eternity, that means existence without beginning, everlastingness, existence without end, dissimilarity, having no comparison, independence, meaning that he does not need anything. So there the Shaykh explained it himself. Oneness, meaning that he does not have a partner. Power, his attribute by which he okay, this one here, power. They have slight difference how they're going to explain it. Who's they? The Sunni theologians. So let's just say, for now, power is his attribute of perfection. That is a negation of weakness. It's a confirmation of a real attribute and a negation of weakness. And will also, it's a confirmation of a real attribute and it's a negation of weakness, of being forced or having no choice. Hearing, his attribute by which he hears. Sight, his attribute by which he sees. Speech, his attribute by which he speaks. Knowledge, his attribute by which he knows. And life, his attribute by which he is alive. And while we're here, real quick, when you confirm the attribute, another thing you need to understand well to understand this chapter is the difference between the attribute of God and the adjective, the descriptive name, the adjective, the descriptive name of God. So, from these attributes that I read to you so far, what descriptive names would he have? For existence, and we're just talking in English now, you'd say he is existent. For eternity, you'll say he is eternal. That's the descriptive name. Existent, that's the adjective. Eternal, that's the adjective. For the attribute of everlastingness, we will say he is everlasting. For the attribute of dissimilarity, we will say he is dissimilar. For the attribute of independence, we will say he is independent. For the attribute of oneness, we will say he is one. For the attribute of power, we will say he is powerful. For the attribute of will, we will say he is a willer or willing. For the attribute of hearing, we will say he is a hearer. For the attribute of sight, we will say he is a seer. For the attribute of speech, we will say he is a speaker. For the attribute of knowledge, we will say he is a knower or knowledgeable. For the attribute of life, we will say he is alive. So, hold fast to this for what we will come to in this chapter, inshallah. Those are the 13 attributes that we have learned over the years now, and that are documented in the books of the Sunni theologians for centuries. The Sheikh says here in this great book of his, Ad-Dalilul Qawim, the Takween is added to that. That means that would be a 14th attribute. Takween. Takween means, so it's not translated here. Takween means creating or creation. Is added to that. and it is understood by the attribute of power. Meaning, we could say a 14th attribute, the Sheikh is telling us. We could say there's a 14th attribute, creating. But if you don't say this 14th attribute, then you won't miss something vital, because you will still understand the act of creating by the attribute of power. Yani, if you don't include creating amongst these attributes that are necessary to know, then you're going to say the power of Allah is his attribute by which he brings things from nothingness into existence. Okay, so from here we can see that the Shaykh validates saying there are 14 attributes, but the 13, why say 13? Because this is a case of agreement. There is an agreement about the 13 attributes. Even if they don't agree how to define power, but they all agree that Allah has the attribute called Qudrah, power. And so there is an agreement to the 13 attributes. And then some of them say also Allah has an attribute, but this is not an attribute of the self, this is an attribute of doing. It's called takween, creating or creation. Okay. So if you have a question, go ahead and ask. This eternal, everlasting attribute of creating is called by many names here. But first, pay attention to the introduction. We said this is an eternal, everlasting attribute, this creating. In the title, we called it doing. The attribute of doing, that's the title. Then the very first sentence is this eternal, everlasting attribute of creating. So this means we are equating here between the doing of God and the creating of God. We are saying it's the same thing. God's doing is his creating. God's creating is his doing. And we are saying here that this is an eternal, everlasting attribute of Allah. Eternal means beginningless. Everlasting means endless. So then this means, since we are saying that the attributes of doings are one category and the attributes of the self are another category, don't forget the difference between them, between the categories. And we are saying here that the attribute of creating is eternal and everlasting. Then that means, according to this, the attributes of the self are eternal and everlasting, and the attributes of doings, of God's doings, are eternal and everlasting. His self attributes are beginningless, and his doings are beginningless. So this is how we are starting here. And this attribute has many names. It is called al-ihdath, event creating. So I can fix the footnotes here. Making something happen. Yani, event creating. Creating huduth, ihdath. Al-ikhtira', inventing. That means here creating. What we as humans do, and we would call an invention or inventing, it is not with the same meaning here, because in the first place, we need limbs to do anything. And we need tools. And the materials of those tools, we did not create them. We did not create, yani, what tools do we have? Whether those tools are made of metal, whether they're made of stone, whether they are made of plastic, etc. We did not create the substance from nothingness. So what we might call inventing has a meaning, which basically boils down to manipulating previously existing materials. But uh, ikhtira' for Allah, which would translate as inventing, it means creating. Al-ijad, making existence, yani existence creating or existence creation. I don't think it needs a dash. Event creating, or if we put, yeah, we don't need dash here, and let's put creation here. Event creation, existence creation. And al-ibda'. Al-ibda' means making something without a previous example. So then we can streamline that and call it originating. Originating. Hafiz and linguist Murtada Zabidi said that these are not used for anyone but Allah, but that is not an agreement amongst the linguists. And claiming an agreement would not be valid. However, what those few have said about the validity of using these terms for the creation is rare or figurative. Okay. Yani, we're using all these words here for the same attribute. Like you see this word al-ikhtira', inventing. Is that a word you can only use for God? Or you can use it for a creation too? And what about some of these other words here? So some said al-ikhtira', you cannot use it for a creation. And some said, no, you can use it for a creation. And our footnote here about this is at the word al-ibda'. Yeah, I want to actually check something here. So what I remember is that this footnote actually goes with al-ikhtira', not ibda'. Yani, what I recall, and actually I know it to be for sure, goes up here. Ikhtira'. But does it apply to ibda'? I'll have to review. So let me review that, inshallah ta'ala, and I'll just put it back the way I had it for now until I review it. Okay. And also, he has the attribute called al-khalq, creating or creation. This is a word we're going to use a lot. Which words we're going to use most? This one, al-khalq, and this next one, al-fi'l, doing. These two we're going to use most in this discussion. Now, this word al-khalq, we have a long footnote here. I'm not going to read this footnote here. It's already done. And I don't want to go into this digression here for now. Al-khalq means creating or creation. Al-fi'l, which means doing or action. As-suna', which means making. And at-takhliq, which means creating a lot. All of these are names of this attribute, and there are more, like al-insha', initiating, and al-ibda', starting. Okay. In English, we will use creating or creation or doing or acting or action or making. So most, what we're going to say most, we're going to say the doing of Allah and the creating or the creation of Allah for this topic here. It is bringing things into existence from non-existence, which is nothingness. Al-Qada, the decree, also means creating. Allah said, فَقَضَاهُنَّ سَبْعَ سَمَاوَاتٍ. Allah created them as 7 heavens or 7 skies. Yani qada. This is just a citation for this word qada. Al-qada. فَقَضَاهُنَّ سَبْعَ سَمَاوَاتٍ. He qada created them as 7 heavens or 7 skies. Okay. We'll skip this paragraph here. It's okay. Now, here's a citation from Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, one of the grand master theologians. He said, وَأَمَّا الْفِعْلِيَّةِ فالتخليق والترزيق والإنشاء والإبداع والصنع وغير ذلك من صفات الفعل. As for the attributes of doings, yani as for the doings, they are التخليق, creating, الترزيق, providing, الإنشاء, initiating, الإبداع, originating, الصنع, making, and other than that, of attributes of doing. So that's a citation that has some of those names for this attribute. And it is also called at-takween. Takween, which means being creation. What book is that of Abu Hanifa? Al-Fiqh al-Akbar. Being creation, which means existence. Being here means existence. You're welcome. So this attribute is also called a takween. And we're going to use this word a lot too. And it is a case that is famous to the Sunni theologians, al-mutakallimun. Now, what I'm going to read to you, it has a skeleton that I built upon. The skeleton is the words of Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani in his book Fathul Bari, the explanation of al-Bukhari, in the chapter of Tawheed. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, he is the one who said the case of Takween is a case that is famous to the theologians. And he summarized the debate between the Ash'aris and the Maturidis in this case. Last week, someone had a question that I didn't address well. The question was, I thought the answer was clear, but later when I listened back, I could have answered the question better. The question was, both of these groups, what they are saying is acceptable, right? So the answer was yes. So then someone said, why are they arguing with each other like this? So, first of all, let's just say it's a friendly argument. It's a scholarly argument that does not have the goal of trying to deem someone as a kafir, trying to deem someone as a disbeliever, or deem someone as a heretic. No, it's a friendly scholarly debate to establish what is most accurate according to them. And second of all, uh, the ferocity or the ferocity of the debate that was being depicted was from me. Yani, because when I give the lesson, sometimes I get excited. So it was my own energy that maybe made it seem like they're going at each other. They're not going at each other here. So the outline of this is from Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, and yani with other information that I had built on there. So this takween, what is it? It's the doing, yani it's creating, being creating, which is event creating, which is existence creating, which is doing, yani creating. According to Al-Bukhari, Abu Hanifa, the Maturidis, and the early Ash'aris, and some of the later ones like Ibn Hajar, and our Shaykh, and it is attributed to Ibn Abbas, and also who else? And Ibn Khafif, we can add right here. And the early Ash'ari, like Ibn Khafif, the one we are going over his book these days, direct student of Imam al-Ash'ari, and some of the later ones like Ibn Hajar and our Shaykh, and this position that we're going to clarify here is also attributed to Ibn Abbas. What's their way here that this attribute of doing, of creating, is eternal? Because Allah was the creator in eternity. Had he not had the attribute of creating in eternity, he would not be the creator in eternity. So, if you remember that. What's Al-Bukhari's quote here? How do we know Al-Bukhari takes this way that the doing of God is eternal? He said in his book of Sahih, in the chapter of Tawheed, he said, this is the chapter about what was narrated about the creation of the skies and earth, as well as other things among the creations, which is the doing of the Lord, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, and his command, his creating command. And so, Al-Bukhari says, the Lord, with his attributes and his doings and his command, and he is the creator, is not created. Whatever existed by his doing, his command, and his creating is something done, and it is a creation. So this is the talk of those who say that God's doing is eternal. Those who say the doing of God is eternal, they don't talk about the power of God like the other group, which we didn't get to the other group yet. And how do we know this is attributed, Yani? Why is it attributed to Ibn Abbas? What does it mean it's attributed to him? Did he say it or he didn't say it? He said what some interpret to be this position, because he would explain the verses of the Quran, such as وَكَانَ اللَّهُ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. If you translate it very literally, it would be Allah was forgiving and merciful. So Ibn Abbas said it means forgiving in eternity. So that means he takes this way. Yani, He had the attribute of forgiving in eternity, and there wasn't a forgiven one created. No forgiven thing was yet created. He was still attributed with forgiving in eternity. This is the meaning of those who say Allah is attributed with creating in eternity. And the created thing has a beginning, like the forgiven one has a beginning. Had he not had the attribute of creating in eternity, he would not be the creator in eternity. Yeah. This here, had he not had the attribute of creating in eternity, he would not be the creator in eternity. This statement, though it's a translation, it's rendered into English, it's really a statement of something in the Arabic language. Had he not had the attribute of Khalq in eternity, he would not have been the Khaliq in eternity. Had he not had the attribute of Takween in eternity, he would not have been the Mukawwin in eternity. They are saying, we actually confirm that Allah is Khaliq, the creator, in eternity. So that's a name. They say this is a name, a description, Khaliq. So the actual attribute that makes this name valid should be confirmed. If the name is confirmed, then the attribute that validates the name should be confirmed. So if we're going to confirm that he's Khaliq, creator, then we need to confirm the attribute Khalq, creating. So that's what they say. Inshallah, that's clear. So who says otherwise? Here's the other party. So you see how we started. We started and we are going to finish by supporting what we have started, supporting that this is an eternal attribute. But here is the other side, and it's valid, it's permissible to take this way. According to Ibn Kullab, he's like Al-Ash'ari. And Al-Ash'ari himself. And the latter day Ash'a'ira. And amongst them is Al-Bayhaqi. But I don't know if Al-Bayhaqi is considered latter day for the Ash'aris. He's not very far away from Al-Ash'ari in terms of time. Yeah, say it again, Yani. Here now, this point here is the saying of the other party, because we've been saying over and over and over now, Allah, His doing is eternal, His creating is eternal, and the way we've presented it is consistent. So you might say, okay, it makes fine sense. So who's saying otherwise? And what are they saying then? What else? How else can you talk about this? And you might say, and you said the other party, their way is valid too. How else can you talk about this and it's valid? So here's the other party. According to Ibn Kullab, he is like Al-Ash'ari. And Al-Ash'ari himself. And the latter day Ash'aris, excluding many of the early ones, like we said, the latter day ones. The doing is created. They say God's doing is created, not eternal. And Al-Bayhaqi is amongst those. Al-Bayhaqi is here in this party. But I don't know if you can call Bayhaqi Mutaakhir, latter day Ash'ari. I actually asked Sheikh Muhammad Sulaiman, is Al-Bayhaqi Mutaakhir or Mutaqaddim? He said Mutaqaddim. Okay, but I don't know if that's here though. Anyway, Al-Bayhaqi is also in this party. They said the doing is created and not an attribute confirmed for the self. That's why it has a small d here. If we want to represent their position, then we're going to put doing with a small d. Because according to them, the doing of God is not an eternal attribute of his. The doing of God, it's a created thing itself. Yani, according to them, the doing of God is the done thing. The doing of God is the done thing. So that means created. You can say that. It's permissible. Then they're going to say, so therefore his attribute by which he creates is power. The first party is saying the doing of God is his eternal attribute. And uh and the done thing is created. The second party is saying the doing of God is not an eternal attribute. The doing of God, it is the done thing itself. It's a creation. And therefore, the attribute by which he creates is power. This is fine. Because even as you are hearing what I'm saying, also, you should be saying, okay, God's doing is the done thing as, created by his power, like this world. According to that, you'll say this world is the doing of God, created by his power. No problem here. But for those masters, one of these two sayings is more accurate. They said, because had the doing been eternal, then the done thing would have also been eternal. They said, how are you? So, this is friendly debate here. They're not deeming each other as heretics. They said to the other party, they said to their brothers in a friendly debate, how can you say that the doing of Allah is eternal? If his doing is eternal, it means, so in their understanding means he's always doing in eternity. And he is doing in eternity, he is doing something eternally. And therefore, there must be something done in eternity. And that's impossible. That part is for sure impossible. A done thing in eternity? That's impossible. So for them, though, the done thing, if there is a doing, then there is necessarily a done thing. And for sure, the done thing is created. So for them, the doing is going to be created. So then they denied the eternality of God's doing because they wanted to avoid claiming that the creation is eternal. According to them, the doings are attributed to Allah as the fulfillment of the power and will of God pertaining to what is possible. Yani, we can just say in easier words, according to them, the doings of Allah are traces of his power and will. So they say, Allah is eternal creator, attributed with eternal power to create, and the doings are a trace of his power. So up until here, any question? Okay. Last week's lesson made this one easier. Alhamdulillah. So now we know both positions. But if you haven't studied, then you might not be strong in how to word these things. That could hinder your understanding here. And also, if you never even heard this before, then it's brand new to you, and you probably, and there's a good chance, rather, let me say, that your mind is not wrapping around this completely. Even if you don't have a question, could be that your mind is not completely wrapping around this because it's brand new to you. But here's the debate starting. So the Maturidis, they disagreed with the Ash'aris. So now, we said one party who says Bukhari, Abu Hanifa, Maturidis, Fulan, 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 and the second party, Ibn Kulab said, and Ash'ari said, and Fulan said. So let's now just boil this down to two names: Ash'aris and the Maturidis. The Ash'aris, they say what? The Ash'aris, and they are the majority, yani they outnumber the Maturidis, that's what I mean. The Ash'aris who outnumber the Maturidis, they say the doing of Allah is a trace of His power. Allah is eternally the creator with an eternal power to create, and the doings are done things, traces of His power. Wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That's what the Ash'ari said. So get that straight. The Maturidis say the doing of Allah is His eternal attribute because He's an eternal doer. They say the doing of Allah is His eternal attribute because He's an eternal doer. So let me right here insert the table like I had done for you last time. Okay. So what do we have here? You have a name, and you have an attribute, and you have, we're going to call it a receiver. Okay. So the name in this case, we're going to say Khaliq. This means creator. That's a name, an adjective. Let me. So the attribute, that's what they want to prove. That's what they're going to argue here. What's the attribute of the Khaliq, the creator? But they agree here. This is a case of agreement. The name or the adjective they agree about. And the receiver also is a case of agreement. What's the receiver? We're going to call him created here. Okay. Let's take another name or adjective. Powerful. And the receiver, we can call him powered, or we can call him controlled. They agree. And what's the attribute of the qadir? Qudra, power. They agree. Here, they agree. Okay. So, what are the Maturidis saying? They are saying the Khaliq, he must have an attribute called Khalq, creating or creation. And they say this is his act, not an attribute of the self, an act of God, a doing of God. They say there's an eternal creator with an eternal creating or creation, and the created thing is not eternal, has a beginning. Okay, so what's the other group saying? They say, okay, we agree, the Ash'aris, they say, we agree, there is an eternal Khaliq, eternal creator, but we don't agree that he has an eternal creating because that would mean that the created thing is eternal. So the synopsis here, brothers and sisters, is that for the Maturidis, Khaliq and Khalq are eternal. And the created thing is not eternal. While for the Ash'aris, Khalq and the created thing are having a beginning. So according to the Ash'aris, there's an eternal Khaliq. And his creation is created. That's the Ash'ari way. The Ash'aris say there's an eternal Khaliq, creator, and his creation is created. The Maturidi way is to say there's an eternal Khaliq with an eternal creating or creation, and the created thing is created. So the Maturidis are going to ask the Ash'aris, if you agree that there's an eternal Khaliq, then what's the attribute of this Khaliq if it's not Khalq? Because you're not agreeing that it's Khalq, so what's the attribute according to you? What are they going to say? Power. So Khalq is the attribute of the creator according to Maturidis. And Qudra is the power, is the attribute of the creator according to Ash'aris. Okay. Is this clear? Yani, any question? Okay, Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Didn't some Muslims say that they just dealing with semantics of words?
Yes, some scholars said they don't have a real difference in opinion here. This is just semantics. That saying is inaccurate. There is definitely a real difference here. Most of the time when the Ash'aris and the Maturidis disagree about something in the creed, it is semantics. They're just defining things. They're just using different words for the exact same thing. But in this case, they're not merely saying different words for the exact same thing. The outcome is different. So whoever says that this case is just semantics, just words are different, then he doesn't really understand the case. Because in the first place, yani, amongst, this is not the only thing, but Qudra is an attribute of the self. They agree. Khalq is not an attribute of the self. They agree. Here, they agree that Khalq is not an attribute of the self. They agree that Qudra is an attribute of the self. So the Maturidis are saying Khalq is an eternal doing of God. And power is an eternal attribute of God. The Ash'aris are saying power is the eternal attribute of God, the creator, and the Khalq is makhluk. The Khalq is created, not an eternal doing. So this is two different meanings here.
Hey, can you write that on the side of that? Created makhluk? Thank you.
Yeah. Makhluk, created. And also here we can even put the word here, creation. This also helps, inshallah, to understand their difference. When translating this case, personally, I didn't see someone who translated this case like this. Inshallah, this is a good way of translating this case. Yani, Khalq, what does it mean? It means creating or creation. Makhluk, what does it mean? Created or creation. So, what are the Maturidis saying? The Maturidis are saying the creator has an eternal creation, and the creation is created. That's in terms of translation here. What are the Ash'aris saying? The Ash'aris are saying the Creator has eternal power and the creation is created.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Can I make a comment about the chart, if you don't mind?
Sure.
It would be much easier if you can have two-sided arguments on each side, like put Maturidi in one side and Ashari on the other side, and then put their arguments beneath them. So this way it's more clear. Here it's a bit confusing because you have the Maturidi and the Ashari in the same column, and then you give a lot of explanation and you just give us the words, but you're not putting it on the chart. It would be much easier if we can have it, yes, just like that.
Okay.
And the other two sides that you have, Khaliq and Makhluk, that I don't know what that how to correlate it to these two mazhab. So if you can
They agree
also
about those.
include that in these two
They agree about
two
those. They
okay,
don't
so you
disagree
can
about the
like
Khaliq and they
copy
don't
and
disagree
paste
about the Makhluk.
agreement and disagreement.
Disagreement is with the attribute.
Okay, so if you can put the agreement and disagreement also with the each one, each one agrees with this and this one agrees with this, beneath the you just split the chart right now. So for each one, you can put their agreements. This actually the two column and one more column. What they agree on,
They agree that the
both of
Khaliq is
them.
eternal creator.
Hmm. Both of them, right?
Yeah, they agree. There's two groups only here. So they are agreeing here. There's no difference here.
So on top of that, can you put both mazhab agreement? No, no, no.
I feel
Next to
like we
the
don't have
agreement.
to because there's only two madhabs. We know who are. Tell me who they are. And their names are right here. Maturidis,
Yeah, yeah, but
Ash'aris.
we are students. We won't know this off of our head. Like this is for students,
Oh, yeah.
new learners. Like you said earlier, a lot
Okay.
of us didn't study it, or it's new to us, or we did to comprehend it. We need a clearer chart. So on the top of the agreement where you have agreements, if you can also include both mazhab next to
I
it.
don't want to be honest with you. For me, it's so clear, Yanni. Now I'm gonna rely on my mind here. Agreement means they're not disagreeing. I don't have to put their names because there's no difference here. Why do I have to put their
I
names if
understand.
they agree?
For you it is easy to understand, but for new learners,
Okay.
they're like, "What do you mean by agreement?"
Okay.
Sometimes
So
it can.
then what I would say here is that at that point, that's fine. I don't want to discourage you from giving me suggestions, but also amongst the things that I like to do is to push a person to use his mind and think. Here, when it says agreement,
It's too
like
early.
okay, the
We are
example,
right now
hold
listening.
on one
We're
second,
not in the.
please. Listen to me for 1 second, please. Here, the suggestion you gave me right here is very good suggestion. Split it. Khalq, put for Maturidis. Qudra, put for the Asharis. Yeah, because they disagreed here. Okay, so that's good suggestion. I like it. Here, for agreement, I don't have to put Asharis and Maturidis because there's not a third group, and they are agreeing.
Okay, but you also have on two sides agreement on two sides.
Yeah.
Both sides,
Okay,
right?
so
And
what
like,
it
what
means
does that
here
mean?
is that the column goes down
Okay, what about the right side? Why do you have another agreement on this side?
because they agreed here. Yani, they agreed here. They agree that the makhluk is created
Okay, why can't this go in one column? Like, why do we have two different column and yet both are agreement?
because two
That
different things. Because this one
doesn't
is the name here. This one is the name. This one is the receiver.
So both Maturidi and Ash'ari agreed upon Khalq, Khaliq and Makhluk.
Yes. No. No. Both of them agreed with Khaliq,
Okay, what
and both
about
of
the
them
right
agreed
side?
with
What is
Makhluk.
that? Both of them agreed with Makhluk, right?
Yes.
So why do we have two different columns for the same agreement?
It's not the same agreement because they agreed on the
I
name and they
mean,
agreed
the
on the
things.
receiver. Yani, don't you see that the name is different from the receiver?
Okay. What do you mean by receiver?
The created thing is being created. Maf'ul. Receiver means in Arabic maf'ul. I'm translating that from the word maf'ul. The done thing, the thing that was done.
Okay.
So they agree that the makhluk is created, has a beginning. They have no disagreement here. They are hand in hand. The Ash'ari says, Maturidi, you Maturidi, do you agree that the makhluk is created? He's going to say, for sure. Ash'ari, you agree? Yeah, he's going to say, for sure. Oh, well, fine. So, and then the Ash'ari might say to the Maturidi, do you agree that the Khaliq is eternal? The Maturidi is going to say, yeah, the Khaliq is eternal. We agree. So there's no difference here, and there's no difference here. The difference is here. Let me remove this now. It's not time for
But
it.
there is a difference. There is something different on two sides that you put it in two different column. You just
Yeah.
said one is a receiver, the other one is a name.
Yes.
Name meaning attributes of Allah, and this one is
Name.
the doing of
Name
Allah.
meaning adjective. Name means adjective. Here. That means descriptive name. You're describing something with a name.
Okay, name of Allah, right? The name of Allah and the doing of Allah. Is that what do you mean?
By
Receiver and name. One
the
side is the
name.
name of. Mm-hmm.
The name is means the adjective. Adjective means a descriptive noun.
Yeah, but
Yani,
is this pertaining to the name of Allah, the
yeah.
descriptive name of Allah?
Who's going to be eternal? Who's going to be eternal other than Allah?
Okay, what are the receiver? Is that the doing of Allah?
The receiver.
Makhluk? Yeah.
The the no, they don't agree that it's a doing of Allah. They agree that it's done thing. Done thing.
Creation of Allah?
It's the done thing. The makhluk. Do you know the Arabic word makhluk?
Yeah, makhluk is the in translation is creation. We are all
Did
makhluk.
you know the Arabic word makhluk from before?
Yes, makhluk. Even in my language, we say makhluk. Makhluk is what's Allah created
Okay.
from the
So
beginning all the way to the end.
you know what the word makhluk means.
Yes,
So
I
why
know
are you
what that
asking? What's
means.
your question? What's your question about
That
makhluk?
I want to make sure this chart is clear for all of us, not just
Don't
me.
wait. Don't worry about anybody else. Just yourself. Other people said it's clear.
Mm. But
Makhluk,
there is a
you
confusion.
know what makhluk means. So this now what seems to me. Seems to me that this is clear to you and you want to make sure it's clear for someone else.
Yeah, but the top
Is that the case?
receiver, it's the top portion is confusing. The receiver. What do you mean by receiver?
Maf'ul. Receiver means maf'ul. Do you know what the word maf'ul means?
No, this word I don't know.
Maf'ul means done thing, something done.
Something done meaning creation.
Yeah,
The created thing that Allah created.
yes.
Okay. So now it makes sense. The both of the mazhab agree with the attributes of Allah as well as the creation of Allah subhanahu wa
But you're
ta'ala.
not
What
using
is
the
the
words that I put here, though. Here, or maybe you don't understand the way the table goes. The table goes down. Yani, the name, what's under the name, under this category of name adjective is Khaliq. That's a name. Is that clear?
Naam?
Okay. Don't call it attribute here. Okay.
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 What's the difference between name and attribute?
Well, if you say this one is attribute and you say this one is attribute, you're gonna go in circles. You're not gonna know what you're talking about. You need different words.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to split the words, say different words. I'm putting words here. You got to put the words I'm putting for you so you can follow me. Also, all let me make a comment too. It is a good thing the teacher needs to be able to make the student understand, but also the student needs to be able to follow the teacher too. It goes both ways. A good student, I'll tell you why, in my own opinion, I think is not good student necessarily is the one who cannot learn from any teacher. Good student can learn from any teacher. He can adapt to all the styles. Some people they say, I can't learn from him. I can't understand you. I can't. When he teaches, I don't understand anything. So he's stuck. As opposed to another one, anyone is teaching him, he can learn from he can take his style and understand. So we go both ways here. Here, I'm giving you these names on purpose. This is adjective, name or adjective. Don't call this attribute here. Now, I'm not saying you can't call it an attribute in reality, but we're trying to understand this case. So, we need to put names for these things so we can understand them. So, this Khaliq is a name. Don't call it attribute here. The makhluk is the done thing. They agree to naming Allah al-Khaliq in eternity. And they agree that the creation, the created thing is done, has a beginning. What they disagreed about is what is the attribute of the Khaliq? From this week and last week, one of the reasons we're going in circles here because you keep calling the first one attribute. So you say, is the Khaliq the attribute? I'm saying it's the name. So what is the attribute of the Khaliq? The attribute of the Khaliq, according to the Maturidis, is Khalq. And the attribute of the Khaliq, according to the Ash'aris, is Qudrah. So that's where they disagree.
Okay. One more suggestion for the middle chart.
Yeah.
If you don't mind putting the Maturidi on the top and highlight it, make it bold, and also the
No, no, no. I'm
Ashari,
not going to
and
all
then
that. I'm
beneath
sorry.
it we will see all the
Sorry.
difference.
You got to follow with me here.
No,
Yani, you
because
see what it is
when
saying.
you're gonna add when you're gonna add more description, the Maturidi keeps going down. So if you put it on the top, it stays on the top. Are you going to add more description between the two mazhabs, or this is
Well,
it?
I'm going to tell you. Here's the thing. First of all, like I said, for one thing, there was something that I felt like you understood it, but you want to make sure other people understood it. And then, Yani, also, I feel like you understand what's there, but you just want it to be improved. Okay, that's fine. But most important, you understand because if you understand it, even though it can be improved, Yani, I'm not going to be able to give more of the lesson now. I'm still here. I didn't like for less. Yani, didn't. You stopped me dead in my tracks. Yani, khalas. Now it's fine if you really didn't understand, but if there's something you understand, then you stopped me for a long time.
No, I didn't understand the receiver and the maf'ul word. And then the chart in the middle was also kind of like, how am I going to separate this two from each other? The only way is to split it. Um,
Okay,
so that's why I stopped and I wanted clarification.
okay, mashallah. Yes. Okay. Is there anything that's not clear left? Tell me. It's okay. Tell me whatever you want.
No, I don't want you to get upset.
No, no, no. Tell me whatever you want. But I'm not asking you if I can improve the chart. I'm asking you if something is unclear. That's two different questions. Is there something unclear? This chart I just made
Right
off the
now,
top of my head.
right now everything is now clear.
Okay.
Now that you explain why you have two side of agreements, they are two different things. One is the name, the other one is a done thing.
Yes.
That's why you have it separate. Okay, that makes sense.
Yes. Okay.
Ya
Yani the
barakallahu
chart,
fi.
I mean, wafikum, the chart, I'm sure it can be improved. I just did it really fast off the top of my head in the middle of the lesson, just trying to go through the book. I didn't intend to stop now, make very perfect chart, but just to make you understand, inshallah.
Yeah, and only because I want to understand, this chart is important. This chart made it really easy to understand, really.
Alhamdulillah.
Without this chart, no matter how much you talk, it wouldn't click, at least for me.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm being honest with you. A lot of people
No,
may
that's
be
fine. That's
listening,
no, no, no. That's fine.
but I like to sit in a class and understand
Yes.
properly, not whereas I leave confused and
Yes.
many questions in mind.
Yeah. Yeah. That's correct.
That's why we take live classes, right? So we can
Yeah.
ask questions.
Yes.
Barakallahu feek.
Ameen wa fikum. Okay. So yeah, I still also I'm working on my patience too. So subhanallah wa bihamdi. One person told me, yeah, he told me I hurt his feelings. So Yani, if that's how he feels, then that's how he feels, and I need to reflect on myself, inshallah, about my approach and my patience with people. Barakallahu feekum. Okay, so let's see what these two sayings are again. So let's back up real quick here. So we are talking about this attribute of doing. Allah has the attribute of doing. Fi'l. And we want to talk about how the Sunni Muslims differed about this attribute. Some of them said it's eternal attribute. Some of them said, no, it's not an eternal attribute. So, what did they say? According to some of them, like Al Bukhari and Abu Hanifa and the Maturidis in particular, who we are focusing on. The Maturidis are the ones who exist until now and are the banner holders for this saying here, which is that they said what? They said this is an eternal attribute of Allah because Allah is the creator in eternity. They said his creating, takween, fi'l, khalq, is eternal attribute of his because he is Khaliq in eternity. They say you're not gonna You don't, the Maturidis say, you don't validate a name, a descriptive name, an adjective. You don't validate an adjective without validating the attribute. So the Maturidis are saying, we agree. The Maturidis are saying, we say Allah is Khaliq in eternity. And you, Ash'aris, you agree with us. Do you say Allah is Khaliq in eternity? So they're going to say yes. Say, okay. The Maturidis say, okay. We agree Allah is Khaliq in eternity. So then they say, this name, it has an attribute. There's an attribute, it comes from an attribute. This is from Arabic language. When we say it comes from an attribute, we're talking Arabic language here. So they say this name, Khaliq, it comes from an attribute, which is Khalq. So once we said he is eternal Khaliq, then we have to say he has eternal Khalq. So the Ash'aris, they said, no, we don't agree. The Ash'aris said, we're going to say Allah is Khaliq eternally, yes, but we're going to say he has eternal Qudrah, power. So they differed here about the attribute. What's the attribute of the Khaliq? And pay attention to the question here. The question is not, what's the attribute of Allah? That's not the question. The question is not, what's the attribute of Allah? And the question is not, for example, what's the attribute of Ar-Rahman? The question is not, what's the attribute of Al-Alim? That's not the question. The question is, what's the attribute of Al-Khaliq? So according to the Maturidis, the attribute of Al-Khaliq is Khalq. And what they said is sound in the Arabic language. According to the Ash'aris, they said the attribute of the Khaliq is Qudrah, power. This does not match in the Arabic language. So why they said that then? It's not like they don't realize that. They realize it too. They're not dummies. They know that Qudrah, that the word Khaliq doesn't come from Qudrah, so why are they saying that? They're saying because we have a reason to make this diversion here. There's something we're avoiding, we have a reason for it. Which is that they're saying, because if you say Allah has Khalq in eternity, you're going to be saying Makhluq is in eternity. They said if there's a Khalq, the Ash'ari said, if there's a Khalq in eternity, then there's the Makhluq in eternity. They say, and that's impossible. Since it's impossible that there's a Makhluq in eternity, then, according to them, it's impossible that there would be a Khalq in eternity. So the Maturidis are going to say to them, so then how is Khaliq then if there's no Khalq? How is Khaliq in eternity if there's no Khalq in eternity? So the Ash'aris are going to say, because he said so in the Quran. That's their answer. He's Khaliq in eternity, not because of Khalq in eternity. The Ash'aris say he's Khaliq in eternity because he said so in the Quran. So they had two different reasons. They agree Allah is Khaliq in eternity, but they had two different reasons for that. But the Maturidis agreed that he said so in the Quran too. They don't disagree with that. He said it in the Quran. But they say more too. They say, yeah, he said in the Quran. We agree, and in the Arabic language, he should have Khalq because he's Khaliq. Both of those. The Ash'aris are saying, nah, the linguistic take there, we're not taking that linguistic take. Because to us means there's a makhluk in eternity, a created thing in eternity. So then we're not going to say that, and instead we're going to say he has qudrah, power in eternity. Is this clear? And remember, Khalq is an attribute of doing. It's an action, an act of God. Khalq is an act of God. Qudra is an attribute of the self of God. Two different categories. And what we are saying is that the Maturidi way is more accurate way. But it's permissible to take the Ash'ari way. And it's easy too. And you can teach it to the people and they will be safe. In fact, teach it to the people. Teach the people, the beginners in this case, the Ash'ari way. Teach the people Allah is the creator in eternity with an eternal power. And that's fine. But now what we are doing here, we want to raise our level here. We want to go higher in the knowledge. That's why we are talking about this. So we are advancing. So if we want to just say beginner words, we're going to say the Ash'ari way for the people. Allah is eternal Khaliq with power to create. Okay, that's it. Teach him 13 attributes, teach him obligatory knowledge, wudu, ghusl, istinja, everything. Then, when he gets past obligatory knowledge, maybe some of you haven't though, then you can take him to another level. So right now we're on another level. So those of you who didn't, if you didn't finish the obligatory knowledge, you're getting some free another level stuff. Any question here? Now,
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
I know I'm going. No, I wait to end the class. I wait. I wait.
Um, so I'm going to leave this chart here in the book here, and inshallah we'll improve the chart. But look here, just so you know. So we started here, page 200. Skipped a little bit, got to page 202. Okay. How far we need to go though? All this, 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 all this. Up till here. 212. Then starts a new section. Attributes known by the text and not the mind. From page 200 to page 212 is all about the doings. Our original goal is to finish these footnotes. But because last week's lesson became clear that, Yani, this is an advanced topic, so I said, okay, I'm just going to go back to the beginning and read it from the top with you. So just keep in mind the amount of information we need to cover, inshallah ta'ala, so we can finish that. Yes, what's your question, Habibi?
Question is, I like the statement that you've made about the student, the good student.
Yeah.
And what about this when the teacher not enthused about teaching the students that he's teaching? That they can the students probably can't learn from him because it
You
seems
have
like
you have good teachers and good students. I say both of those, what make them good, either one, that they can teach and learn from any, they can teach anyone and learn from anyone. Yeah, good teacher should be able to teach this one and that one with his different styles. This one doesn't learn the way this one does. So he could teach this one and he could teach that one. Both of them, if someone else is not as good as him, he can teach the one, but he can't teach the other because he can't adapt to his learning style. Good teacher, inshallah, can adapt to all the different learning styles. And also the good student should, inshallah, adapt to the teaching styles so that he can learn from any teacher too. Then we're going to have good exchange of knowledge.
I understand that. I was thinking on the level. I know how certain universities in the United States, some teachers are not really into teaching the students because it seems like the teacher is not. How can I say that? I'm not speaking on the religious part. I'm just speaking on general. That the teacher is not very enthusiastic about teaching the students because he feels that the students is not grasping the knowledge.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm
And
saying?
it could be, yes, and could be also, um, could be also a Muslim teacher like that.
Okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, okay, okay. But
Like if he gets frustrated, for example,
yeah, okay. I'm
or
saying it because what you the statement you said, uh, I wrote half of it down, but the other half I didn't write down. But it touched me because that situation is happening not in this class. I'm talking right now in a university, and the students cannot learn from this teacher because like I said, the teacher is not enthusiastic about teaching the kids
yeah,
because but they're adults. They're not teaching the students because they're not grasping what he's saying. It
mashallah. I
just
feel like I wasn't patient very much today, though. I'm remembering Imam al-Tahawi, used to learn from his uncle. His uncle was a Shafi'i. So his uncle got frustrated with him once. He told him, "You're hopeless." So Tahawi stopped learning from his uncle. That's how he became a Hanafi.
mashallah.
MashaAllah.
But I'm not speaking about this class because it just touched me because it just happened recently, but outside this class I'm talking about.
Yes.
And that right there, it hit me. I'm like, wow, what you just said, that statement you said about good students can learn from any teacher, and any teacher could teach any student because they will adapt to the process.
Yes. I need to go now, inshallah
All
ta'ala.
right, barakallah feature.
Ameen Wafiq. And Sister Yasmin, if I offended you, please pardon me. Inshallah ta'ala.
I ask forgiveness too if in any case
No problem. No,
uh,
I,
I fulfill.
and to be honest with you, I like your interactions in the class, so it's okay. Barakallahu feek.
Barakallah.
Ameen wa feekum. Wa subhanallahi wa bihamdih.